Today, I'm going to provide an in-depth explanation of the most misunderstood tax law when it comes to Roth conversions, and that's the infamous 5-year rule. In fact, there's two 5-year rules. Now, I covered this briefly in a recent video, and while some viewers said it was very helpful, many other viewers requested a deeper dive and possibly some examples to help them comprehend what I was talking about. So today, we're going to do exactly that. We'll start by laying down some of the basics and the background of this rule or these rules, and then we'll walk you through clear real-world examples. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll confidently understand one of the most misunderstood tax rules of all time. But first, my name is Kevin Lum. I'm a certified financial planner, and this channel is dedicated to helping 1 million people retire without worry. Well, today I'm recording this on St. Patrick's Day, and so in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I've expanded my wardrobe, and today I'm wearing green at my daughter's request. So today I want to talk through the details of the Roth 5-year rule. But before I do that, you first need to understand the Roth IRA ordering rules. So here are the Roth IRA ordering rules. So if you put money into a Roth IRA or you do a Roth conversion, here is the order that that money comes out. And this is going to be really important in a minute. So I want to give you this background. Contributions come out first, and money you put into a Roth IRA, it always comes out tax-free and penalty-free. So if you open up a Roth IRA and you put $5,000 into that Roth and you don't invest that money, you can always take out that $5,000 completely tax and penalty-free. The next chunk of money that you pull out of a Roth, so let's say you have $100,000 in a Roth and some of it's contribution you put in and some of it's a conversion. The next chunk of money, once you've taken out all the contributions that you put in, the next chunk of money that comes out are conversions. And they come out tax-free, but they are subject to a 5-year rule if you are under 59.5 when converting. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. Now, if the conversion had both pre-tax money and after-tax money, the pre-tax amount comes out first. So first we take out the contributions, and then second comes out the conversions. And if there is a pre-tax and an after-tax amount in the conversion, it's pre-tax first, then after-tax, and then finally earnings, whatever you earned on either the contribution or the conversion, come out last. So by understanding the ordering rules, right? Contributions, conversions, earnings, I think will help make everything else a little easier to understand. So first I'm going to go over a chart that I put together to help make this more understandable. And I'm going to put a link so you can download this chart in the description below. Okay, so here's the chart I went through in the last video, but I don't think it made it quite clear enough because it relates to the ordering rules and both 5-year rules. So first of all, you have your contributions. That is always the first money to come out. As I just got done saying, your contributions are not taxed and there's no penalty. So then the second step is Roth conversions. And you can pull money that you converted from a Roth IRA out at any time without any taxes or penalties if you're either 59.5 or older, or it meets the 5-year rule. And so this is the first 5-year rule. And this is one of the things that confuses a lot of people. If you are 59.5, you can take out your Roth conversion at any time without any tax or penalty. If it has not been open for 5 years and you're under 59.5, and I'm going to go into a little bit more why this rule exists in a minute, but if you're not 59.5 and the account has not been open for 5 years, then you could be subject to this 5-year rule. And it's important to note that this 5-year rule, each conversion has its own 5-year clock. So if you convert 100,000 one year, and then the next year you convert another 100,000, and the next year you convert another 100,000, and the next year you convert another 100,000. Each of those conversions will have its own 5-year clocks. If you're over the age of 59.5, you don't need to worry about each conversion having its own 5-year rule. So that's the first 5-year rule. Next, we have earnings. So let's assume you did a Roth conversion, you put $100,000 into a Roth, things have gone incredibly well. Now you have $200,000. This is where the second 5-year rule comes into play. To be able to take earnings out tax and penalty free, you have to meet both the 5-year rule and be 59.5. It's not either or, it is and. And so what that means is you have to be 59.5 And this 5-year rule is slightly different. To meet this 5-year rule, you have to have had a Roth IRA open for at least 5 years. So as long as you've had a Roth open for 5 years, doesn't matter what custodian, as long as you've had some Roth open for 5 years and you're 59 and a half, you can take out all of your earnings completely tax and penalty free. So that's kind of the overview of this chart. Now I want to go a bit deeper into this, and I'm going to give you some examples to hopefully make this even clearer. And then I'm going to end with some of the questions I got asked most frequently in the comments when I did my last video. So the first 5-year rule applies to contributions and conversions and whether the earnings are tax-free to you. Distributions of earnings, anything you've made, maybe it should be profit, distributions of profit or earnings after the age of 59 and a half aren't taxed if you've had an account open for at least 5 years. You've had a Roth IRA open for 5 years. For this purpose starts the moment money is deposited into any IRA that you own, either through a contribution or a conversion from a traditional IRA, typically known as a Roth conversion. The clock doesn't restart for later Roth contributions or a newly opened Roth IRA account. So that's really helpful to know. So here's the first scenario. You're 60 years old, you funded your first Roth, you put $1 in 3 years ago, and you take a distribution. But for whatever reason, you take out all the money in your account. So both the conversion amount or the contribution amount and the earnings or the profit that you made in this account. Since it's been less than 5 years since you began contributing to a Roth IRA, you're going to have to pay tax and penalty on the earnings, but only on the earnings. So one thing I should note before I move on, if you are afraid the first 5-year rule applies to you, you can actually possibly shave that down to 3.5 years. So let me tell you how. So let's say you make a Roth contribution this year before April 15th, and you apply it to the prior year. Now that 5-year clock goes all the way back to January 1st of 2024, and you only have to wait 3.5 years before pulling your earnings out. Now, in reality, most people don't need to worry about this because you're not going to be pulling your earnings out of your Roth for many years to come. That should be the last dollars you touch. But if that makes you nervous, if you want to do a Roth conversion and you want to try to whittle that 5-year rule down, if you make a contribution before you file your taxes this year, you can apply it to last tax year, and that basically takes the clock and rewinds it to January 1st, 2024, and can shave up to 1.5 years off of that 5-year rule. Hopefully that helps make sense. The second 5-year rule applies specifically to Roth conversions and whether the 10% early distribution penalty hits if you take a distribution before 59 and a half. This 5-year rule does not apply to new contributions to Roth IRAs, but to conversions of pre-tax money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Under this rule, if someone under the age of 59 and a half does a Roth conversion and later takes a distribution within 5 years of the conversion before turning 59 and a half, then the amount of the conversion's principal that is withdrawn is hit with a 10% early distribution penalty. Once you hit 59 and a half, you don't need to worry about this 5-year rule, even if you take a payout before your conversion meets the 5-year period. For example, there is no 10% penalty if you do a Roth conversion at age 57 and withdraw the funds 4 years later. You haven't met the 5-year rule, but now you're 61. This rule does not apply. However, based on your circumstances, the first 5-year rule, the one I just got done walking through, may apply tax to the post-conversion earnings. So why does this rule exist? Sometimes I think if we understand why a rule was created, it can help us understand it a bit more. It's essentially an anti-abuse rule to prevent people from getting around the early withdrawal penalty from their traditional IRA by doing a Roth conversion and then taking the money out right away. If you take money out before you're 59 and a half, you should have to pay a 10% penalty. And so what people are doing was they're converting the money and then pulling it out of the Roth and avoiding the penalty. Now, you still could potentially get around that early distribution rule, assuming you're younger and you have a bunch of money you want to convert and you want to tap into that money, but it has to be in the Roth IRA for at least 5 years. That's why that rule exists. Under this rule, each conversion has its own separate 5-year period, which differs significantly from the other 5-year rule. You see why this is so confusing. If you do multiple Roth conversions, there will be a 5-year period for each conversion, even if the conversion is done into the same Roth IRA. So let's illustrate this second 5-year rule with an example. You're 52 and you convert your traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. The Roth IRA has been open for 10 years. You will be taxed when you do the conversion. 4 years later, you liquidate the Roth. Your post-conversion earnings will be subject to ordinary income tax rate and the 10% penalty because you're not 59.5 at the time of the distribution. Additionally, the converted principal, so that original amount that you converted, will also be hit with the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Here's the second scenario. You're 58 and you convert a traditional IRA that you own into a Roth IRA that you've had open for 16 years. You will be taxed on the converted amount at that time. 3 years later, at 61, you take a large distribution from your Roth. Your post-conversion earnings won't be subject to ordinary income tax because you first made a deposit into a Roth more than 5 years ago, and your converted principal won't be hit with the 10% early withdrawal penalty because you're at least 59.5 when you take the distribution. Hopefully that helps make sense of all this. So I want to answer a few questions that people asked in the comments. First, opening a Roth IRA at another brokerage account. So let's say you've got an account at Schwab and you open up one at Fidelity and you want to move the Roth from one to the other. That does not impact the 5-year rule, at least negatively. So the 5-year rule that says you have to have a Roth open for at least 5 years. Just because one is open for 2 years and then you move it to another one, that one's open 3 years. It's when did you open and fund, even if you just put $1 into the account, when did you open and fund your first Roth IRA? So that's a good question. Another question some people asked was around inherited IRAs. Inherited IRAs are not eligible for Roth conversions. So none of what we just talked about applies here. So another question was about Roth 401ks, and the rules are a little different. So one of the things about a Roth 401k is that each employer 401k has its own 5-year clock. So typically, as long as you've had a Roth open for 5 years, you meet the one Roth 5-year rule. That is not how it works with the Roth 401k plan. Each company plan has its own 5-year clock. So if you have a Roth 401k at one company and you're there for 3 years, that has its one clock. And then you go to a new employer, that new Roth 401k has its own clock. So then a few people ask, because designated Roth accounts, Roth 401ks are becoming more popular. People ask, what happens when you roll a Roth 401k into a Roth IRA? So if you roll a Roth IRA into a Roth IRA, it backdates to the earliest account open and funded. So you take a new Roth and you roll it into an old one. Whenever that old Roth was open and funded is your starting date. But let's say you take a Roth 401k and you want to move it into a Roth IRA. So you open up a new Roth IRA and you fund it. The holding period for the Roth IRA account that you just opened determines whether the 5-year contribution rule has been met. Even though your Roth 401k has been open for 10 years, you have not met the contribution 5-year rule. The holding period of the designated Roth doesn't matter. So if you rolled your assets from a Roth 401k that met the 5-year contribution rules into a Roth IRA that had not, it would not have met the 5-year rule. How is that for confusion? Then the question becomes, well, what if I have a Roth 401k and I roll it over to another Roth 401k? Generally, the 5-year holding period is based on whichever account is older. For example, if you transferred all the assets from a 10-year-old Roth 401k from your last employer to a new Roth 401k with your current employer, the older Roth would determine, or the older Roth 401k would determine the holding period for all the assets in the new Roth 401k. So I could keep going on all night. There are more variations we could talk about, but I am beginning to bore myself. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. And finally, if you're a bit overwhelmed and think, I don't know that I want to do a Roth conversion. I've got great news. I've got a video on 6 reasons why you should not do a Roth conversion, and you can watch it now.